So I think that this is the longest stretch we've gone since I've been doing this where I haven't seen Kelton hatch.
Oh, it's been just a crazy month. I was so tickled that you was able to get me in as when you did. It's like I'm sitting here going, I've really got to get over there and talk. And it's like finally I got a hold of you and was able to get on here. But we got so much going on right now. It's
This
just
time of
amazing.
year is for
Well,
your office has
it,
got to be just
people don't understand. Hunting season is actually one of our slower times of year. It seems like fish and game during hunting season we've got basically one thing to do. We're going to go out and we're patrolling and talking to outdoorsmen. This time of year, though, we're up trapping pronghorn fawns right now. We just got done trapping and radio collaring elk and deer. Now we're doing the a fawn horn study up in the Fairfield area. Plus, we're putting in food plots and stuff like that. We got a bunch of small farms, or they're WMAs, but they're getting all their crops in, getting ready to remove first crops of hay. And then we just have all our season planning meetings right now, and it just seems like it's nonstop. And so it's good to be busy, though. Good to be busy.
you got a lot to talk about today. Right off the top, controlled hunt applications.
Well, I just wanted to remind folks it is that time of year, even though we don't start hunting until August, which isn't that far away. My wife was saying the other day, she seems like you just barely put your shotgun up, and I says, well, that's the way it's supposed to be, dear. And so, but no, we're starting to get those controlled hunts in. We just completed the trophy species draw, so if you put in for moose, bighorn sheep, mountain goat, you can check to see if you drew that. We should have mail out notifications coming this week. And then if you had waited for the deer, elk, antelope applications, that's going on right now, and you've got until June 5th. But I highly recommend that you don't wait until Memorial Day weekend or till the 5th, because those are like two of the busiest days that we have. Everybody for Memorial Day is buying their fishing license, plus saying, oh, I'll pick up my fishing license. I guess I'll put in for my controlled hunts that day. Well, the system goes down about half the time. And then the other one is the last day, June 5th. It's like this onslaught of people that come running in to get their controlled hunt applications in. So get her done now, and you'll be happier.
And you pointed out before that in Idaho, this is a lot more equitable. I mean, the way it's done than, let's say, in some of our neighboring states.
Well, according to all our surveys and things like that, that's the way most sportsmen feel. I do myself personally because, you know, even though you're not gaining a point or getting closer, I mean, I've put in for a bighorn sheep for 15 years, and I finally drew. And there's only been 4 to 5 people when I drew that were putting in for the hunt that I put in for. I had a wilderness hunt that I was working on drawing, and so if I'd have been in a point system, I could have possibly drawn that in 4 or 5 years. However, the next year I turned around and I put in for a mountain goat, and I was able to draw that just the next year. And if I had been just buying points like they do in some of the surrounding states, it would have taken me another 10 years to have gotten enough points. And I've got points in other states, and I mean for different animals, and it's just like a lot of those guys only get to hunt elk every 15 years or deer, or and we do have the best drawing odds bar none. I had there's a state here that I had 15 points for a desert ram, and I still had, with 15 points, I still had 0.01% chance of drawing. 0.01 with 15 points. The worst drawing odd in Idaho is a 4%. So, you know, to me, it's just really equitable. Kids that are coming in, new hunters that are coming in, aren't behind the curve because they don't have
Mm-hmm.
points. And so, but those are things that we're discussing every year. We just ran a survey on that last year, and sportsmen were still in favor of it, but we do still have a group of people that would be interested in having a point system.
But that's the point to be made too, is that you take the input from the sportsman, and that's a key part of this.
Well, it is. We try to manage the way sportsmen want it to, and I know I've got guys listen to me right now that are saying, "Well, no, they don't because I don't like it that way." Well, it's not the majority. We try to go with the majority. So those with the loudest voices, they end up as long as it's not a biological issue, basically the way I try to explain it for the department, we try to manage it biologically and let the sportsmen put their input in how that happens to reduce populations in certain area by what means, whether it's archery, whether it's rifle, whether it's muzzleloader, whether it's controlled hunt, whether it's for trophy species or bigger, larger animals for trophy bucks and having other things go. But we try to just manage it biologically for what the area can sustain.
And you got a note here: trophy draw complete.
Yeah, it's the trophies draw is complete, and so if you put in for that moose, sheep, or goat, you should know about it. I didn't draw again. Been putting in for my California sheep for the last 6 years, and just no lucky, no lucky. And so hopefully my wife or my kids draw a deer, elk, or antelope, so we can go out and hunt something close to home.
And for people out there who'd like to track all of this, is it on the website too?
It is. All this stuff's on the website. It's fishandgame.idaho.gov. You can go on there. You can pull up. It's really quite I like to tell people before you put in for your deer, or elk or pronghorn, any of those, go on and check our website and see what the drawing odds are. You can pull up the drawing odds for the last
Mm-hmm.
15 years to see how many people have been putting in for that tag that you want to get. And so you can say, well, this hunt right here, it's only got 3 people putting in for each tag, and this hunt right next to it has got 7 people putting in for each deer tag. Kind of a no-brainer to me. If I want to hunt deer that year, I'm going to go with the better drawing odds, unless I'm really in love with an area, and want to hunt that, and then I'll go hunt general. And that's typically what we do: is we put in for the hunt that we really want, regardless of the drawing odds, and then we just go on a general hunt.
It's 51 and coming up on 9:14, and we have a telephone caller looking to join us. Kelton Hatch is a guest from Idaho Fish and Game on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, guys. It's another beautiful morning, isn't it?
It is. Well, this is phenomenal.
Yes, it is. Hey, I just got the bad news that sorry, I'm a loser on my moose draw, and but we was headed to Pocatello, going down Coldwater Hill, and there was a moose crossing the freeway, so I almost scored.
Well, you may have been thinking different if you'd hit it.
Yeah, I had to turn around twice and still missed it. But I was wondering what would happen. I mean, if a tractor trailer rig hit that and I seen it, what would I have to do to properly, salvage that?
What you need to do is you could field dress it right there, load it up, and take it with you. As soon as you get to a computer, you need to go online and you need to fill out a roadkill permit. You can just fill out where you hit it, what parts you recovered and stuff like that, and go and fill that out. And then you need to call the regional office of that, because most likely somebody's going to say, oh, we saw some guy that had backed up 3 times trying to hit this moose and finally got it. And so then we'd have your name.
All right. Thanks, guys, because you never know if it happens. I don't want to let anything waste, deer, elk, or anything.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for your call.
Want to thank him as well. And of course, Kelton will be here for the remainder of the hour. So if you have a comment or question, you can join us. Be patient about all of that. We do have a couple of things we still have to get through this morning. Applications for super hunts. A lot of dates involved with this.
Well, there is, because we have 2 super hunts, and unlike other states, our super tags, these are basically governor's tags. And so to explain it to you, like if you wanted to go, if you wanted a statewide deer tag, you'd put in for one of these. And that way you can have that deer tag in your pocket and you can hunt every open hunt for the entire season with that tag until you harvest an animal. So if you want to hunt 54 just down here below us during that hunt, you could hunt it. You could go hunt 55 and you could hunt the early velvet hunt, or you could go over to 39 and hunt it. You could run over to unit 11 and hunt, deer during that time. But as soon as you harvest an animal, you fill that tag. And so they're really a neat opportunity. A lot of other states auction these tags off, and they're getting upwards of $100,000 to $200,000, and I've seen them go for more than that in some of these states surrounding us. And so, great opportunity. All the money from the Super Hunt applications go to our Access Yes program, and that means that we're purchasing access on private property to allow sportsmen to hunt there, or to gain access through their property to, like, the Snake River or to hunting units around the state. You have until May 31st to apply for the first super hunt. You'll be notified by June 10th if you drew. If you miss that one, you can apply again starting June 1st through August 10th for the second set of super hunt tags, and you'll be notified by August 20th. And so it's a great deal for somebody that, wants to donate to Access and have a possibility of drawing a great tag.
Caller referencing that moose over near Pocatello. This time of year, there's a lot of wildlife on the move, and you want to specify, too, a lot of it's the younger wildlife. You got to be really careful out there.
Well, you do right now. I mean, we've got animals shifting ranges. We've got fawns and calves hitting the ground in the next week. I mean, I was telling you that we are in the process right now of pronghorn fawns are hitting the ground right now. Deer fawns, elk calves are coming right now and will really be coming in the next few weeks. It's such a sad deal that, it's kind of like that baby bison in Yellowstone Park. People are driving along and they see this critter out there standing along this road. It's young, it's cute, it doesn't run very fast, so they grab it, they throw it in their car because they think they're saving it, when basically they're putting a death sentence on that animal. Even though they're trying to do the best thing for it, and I understand that people's hearts are in the right place, but we just cannot we don't have facilities to raise fawns or calf elk. The first thing that's going to happen if a person brings it in, it's going to be, when did you get it? Where did you get it? How long have you had it? And take it right back there and where you picked it up. Because 95% of the time, I mean, unless you see a dead deer laying on the edge of the road or a dead pronghorn, what's going on is that fawn is laying there, probably gets bored, stands up, you see it, it's waiting for its mother to come back. They have real low scent on them. The mothers will leave them bedded down in an area, take off, go graze themselves, usually away from the animal, so they're not, if they do attract a predator, it's not near their fawn, and then they'll come back and nurse it. And once its legs are underneath it and it can run and keep up with it, then that fawn or calf starts traveling with that adult animal. So just leave those alone. We get hundreds of calls every year. I mean, I've had baby rock chucks, I've had baby badgers, we get baby pronghorn fawns and deer fawns every year. And so the best thing to do, we just really want to stress, is leave them. Also, you'll find baby hawks and stuff after a windstorm. The mothers will come out of those trees and feed those animals on the ground, even if they can't fly. Yeah, there's a risk that they may get plucked, but we just don't have the facilities to take care of them unless they're injured. So best case, just leave them where you find them.
More with Kelton Hatch coming up from the Idaho Fish and Game office. Joining us this morning. He's here until 10 o'clock. Save those telephone calls. He'll have plenty of time for those in the next 40 minutes. It's coming up on 9:20, 53 right now. Top story with Bill Colley as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Wanted to mention Kelton Hatch as our guest. He's in the studio with us until 10 o'clock. It's 23 minutes after 9 o'clock, 51. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. I do want to point out very quickly, if I could, we had a great visit on Friday with Dr. Eric F. Jones. And, of course, he's got offices not far away from our studios. He uses a holistic, systemic approach to wellness. He's been doing this now for 23 years. He has master's and doctorate degrees in marriage and family therapy. Dr. Eric F. Jones uses methods of alternative healing, naturopathy, medicinal herbs, nutrition, sound waves, intellectual cognitive self-regulation, and napathy to help remedy and manage mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges. He is accepting new patients, and he has evening and Saturday appointments. The number is 731-7178. That's 731-7178. And he has his Facebook page up and running, and that is Eric F. Jones, Ph.D., mental health and wellness therapist. We have a telephone caller looking to join us, and I know it's somebody who's been trying to reach us for the last several minutes. Caller, you're on the air with Kelton Hatch.
Good morning, guys. Bill, thanks a lot for having good guests with good topics. A couple months ago, I suggested that the Fish and Game publish some recipes for wild game and fish, but baby bluegills eat mosquito larvae, and maybe Idaho can notify some of these states down south to put in baby bluegills in the pond. They'll lessen the number of mosquitoes, plus the fact you can have a good meal at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a plan.
Between the fish, the bats, and the birds eating mosquitoes, we're in good shape.
We are. We're actually in the process. I was going to mention this a little bit later, but since you've called, we're trying to get a regional web page up that goes along with it. Will be like if we put a Facebook video out, I mean a YouTube video out, it'll go straight to our web page when you click on it, and we're going to put recipes on that. I thought it was a great suggestion. I took it back, and so we're going to try to get it set up so that listeners like yourself and avid outdoorsmen can submit recipes, and we're going to try to publish them on this website so that people can have access to them.
And maybe come up with a Christmas cookbook too.
There you go.
That'd be a great gift.
Yeah, bet.
9:26, and you're up next with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game.
Kelton, I got a question about this access. You know, we used to hunt up at Paradise near Soda.
Yeah.
This guy had a quarter mile of frontage, shut the whole valley off. How come we can't go to the legislature and get an access for that? You know, and nobody's hunted on that since probably 1986. We've got another problem up here to Hegler and all this Albion country. They shut off the access and they don't own it. You guys got to have access there some way, or the Forest Service has to have access. Why can't the legislature help the Fish and Game instead of having to buy that access and open those roads?
You know,
there's a place up here in Hegler. It's a Johnson place. There is a county road, and this guy has that county road shut off permanent, and nobody can get access to that. The Jones boys up there that farm for Kendall Jones, they've tried to get that open, and nobody can get that open. Whether they've got help from the law keeping that closed, you shouldn't have to buy that.
You know, it's a tough situation on some of these, and I'm not familiar with all of them. I do know that if it isn't a county road and it's a private road, we have no means by getting access. Typically, if it's a county road, we can go in and we will get those open if it's a documented county road and it hasn't changed, because some of those roads, even though they were in there for a long time, have reverted back to private property if they haven't been used very much. I know in a few cases we've had that. The other criteria on some of that is if there's other access to those areas, if there's a way around. And so if you have a few of those properties, maybe later on, if you would call me and get me some information on that at the office, I'll try to get those to the right hands and see if we can't get our Fish and Game officers. That's part of their job in their patrol district, is to look at those areas and try to keep those public roads open through private property. So, but I do appreciate your call.
And what's the number at the office?
The number over there is 324-4359, 324-4359. If I'm not there, Josh Royce, he's our regional conservation officer. He's the all the officers, and he's actually where I'll have to end up taking all this stuff. And so if you want to just call him, or Toby Boudreau, who is my regional manager, would also be good on that. But anybody pretty much there, we'd like to talk to you about those.
Got half an hour to go. We're going to talk some fishing in the next half hour. In fact, an opportunity perhaps for you to do it without a license, at least for one day. That's on the way in a few minutes.
You betcha.
Kelton Hatch joining us in studio from Idaho Fish and Game. It's 9:30. It's 52. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX. This is Top Story. You can also hear us online by clicking that Listen Live function at newsradio1310.com. Our guest in the studio, Kelton Hatch, is with Idaho Fish and Game, and he joins us on a monthly basis. 9:30, call it 9:34. It's 50 right now. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. I knew this time of year that we would be talking a little fishing because there's going to be a lot of fishing news, but a free fishing day coming up in, just about 2 weeks. and that is a day for people who think that perhaps they'd like to take up the sport, but maybe they don't know that they want to invest in a license yet. This way, they can find out if they like it.
They can get a free day. There's nothing free except free fishing day. What is that old saying? There's no such thing as a free lunch. But no, there is a free fishing day, and we don't even charge you when you leave. We will be there with fishing poles. We'll have bait. If you go to Hagerman, it's kind of like Mardi Gras, I guess. It's
Yeah,
just different
yeah.
with fish. We'll have 600 people down there. We have a bunch of fishing poles for people to use. They'll teach you how to fillet, cook fish. They'll gut your fish. They'll take pictures. The kids can make fish prints with their fish. Means they can go up there, put a little paint on it, paint it on a T-shirt or paint it on a piece of paper. They'll have soda pop and hot dogs, and they get a fish in the raceways, and it's quite the event. We get people from all over the state that actually drive over the Hagerman event. We'll also have some a little less just smaller gatherings. One at the Gavers Lagoon at the Hayspur Fish Hatchery just outside of Peekaboo. We'll be up there with the fish trailer, and folks can go up there and go fishing. We usually have around 100, 150 folks up there. And then we've got another one closer to town. It's Rocky's Pond, and that's out in Murtaugh. You just go past the LDS Church and the first road to the right or south, down this tree-covered lane. You can go down there, and Rocky Mathers lets people go fishing in his pond down there, so we'll be down there. And we usually have between 30 and 70 people down there. It just depends on the weather conditions, but you don't have to just go to one of our events. And this is good for, like, a lot of people bring their friends in from out of town, out of state. They're here. You can take all the kids fishing, and you can just fish for that Saturday for free, regardless. And so you can go to any body of water. You do need to adhere to the regs rules. It doesn't mean you can fish with dynamite. I know
Right,
that's
right.
probably
Yeah.
your favorite way to fish, but or electricity or any of that. You can't get your pitchfork out there, but you can use the legal means of fishing and fish for free that day.
I know that when I was a kid, my dad and some of the guys he worked with, they would actually do they'd shock the fish. But this was not to bring them home and eat them, but they would spend a day. They'd go out on the lake and they would shock some fish. But that was to just get some measurements and check them out. And I came home from school one day and I saw this enormous fish just off the break wall, about 5 feet in 5 feet of water, and I thought, oh, he's still stunned. So I went and I got the net, thinking this is going to be my dinner. But as soon as I got that net near him, he woke up, and man, did he beat a path out of there.
Yeah. So no, but no, get out there and have some fun. Free Fishing Day is just that. It's a day to give back to the community, and hopefully we can uh, get people back to their roots. I think everybody in their 50s at some time or 40s had been fishing before, and they may have forgotten about it. Getting the life of raising kids or grandkids and things like that. And so this is just an opportunity to get out there and try something you may haven't done for a while.
And of course, the Take Me Fishing trailer, big part of your events through the summer.
Oh, it is. And I was going to bring my my little sheet with all those dates on it, and I forgot it. I'm going to get you one next month so that we have them, but I wanted to read off the dates that we have right now. On June 4th, actually before Free Fishing Day, we'll have our first event, and that's going to, one thing I better do on Free Fishing Day. Most of those events, Hagerman's going from 9 till about 1 or 2. The other two events go from 8 till noon. The one at Hayspur, not at Hayspur, at Gavers Lagoon at Hayspur, yep, and one at Rocky's Pond. And so we won't be there as long. We'll get there early in the morning. These events that we're talking about now go from 8 to noon, and these are our Free Fishing Day events. June 4th, we're at the Fairfield Kids Pond. It's Fairfield Days up there, so we always go up and try to participate in that. If you haven't been up to Fairfield in a while, it's beautiful right now. Everything's just green, and the camas lilies are starting to come out. It's just gorgeous up there. Free Fishing Days on June 11th, and then I'm going to tell you about Dog Creek Reservoir on June 15th. Dog Creek is north Gooding. Um, just we're trying to introduce people to different areas, but if you haven't got you haven't got this list, you can go to our fishing game website at fishinggame.idaho.gov. Click on fishing trailer, click on Magic Valley, and give you a full list.
More coming up. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about the fishing report. That's on the way in just a few minutes. It's almost 9:40. It's 53. Kelton Hatch is our guest. He is here from Idaho Fish and Game. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Kelton Hatch is our guest. He's here for another, 15 minutes or so. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. If you have a comment or question for Kelton, the telephone number 736-0300. That's 736-0300. And we have another topic here, and then I've got one I want to throw in too as well. You mentioned a fishing report here at the...
I was just going to... Things are going really great right now in the lakes. People are starting to catch fish, and as the water warms up, you're going to see the bass had been really hot, starting to get really good before all this cold weather and rain. And I'm expecting it to heat up again with spawning coming on. But if you're a creek fisherman, you got a couple more weeks. They're running black and hot right now, and so but get out there and have some fun. This is my favorite time of the year if you're going to fish. Like I've said before, I'm not a huge fisherman, but if I fish, I like fishing early in the spring before it gets too hot because and I think the fishing's better and the fish taste better early in the spring. So get out and have some fun.
My experience was too, we've had a lot of rain lately, but it was rainy days always seem better days to go fishing.
Yeah, it is, unless it drops the temperature by 40 degrees, and it just, these have been really cold rains, and it's amazing to me. I never really thought high pressure systems and low pressure systems had that huge of effect on fishing until I started fishing with this Trout in the Classroom program, and we take about 1,700 kids fishing, and it's amazing. You can be down, and kids can be catching fish left and right, and then all of a sudden you'll feel a pressure change, and the bite is, you've got 150 fishing poles in there. You got a pretty good sampling selection of kids out there catching fish. And I mean, you'll have a couple fish on all the time. And then you get a low come in, and the bite just goes completely off, and nobody will touch a fish for the next hour. And then you'll feel a little bit pressure inversion. So this was sharp enough that I think it would have slowed it down a little bit this last weekend.
We have a caller with us. And caller, you're on the air with Kelton Hatch on KLIX.
Morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Quick question. So short range weapons, nowadays you can convert some of your pistols and kind of turn them into a carbine. And reading through it, it kind of just says straight wall
cartridge.
It doesn't define, anything lengthwise.
Yeah.
Does that still legally meet the guidelines of a short range, provided it's still a handgun caliber?
It doesn't. And that's the thing. It has to be a handgun. I mean, like I've got a 44 mag, and then I've got a 44 rifle that shoots my 44 mag slugs or shells. I cannot shoot the rifle. It gives you longer range, higher velocities because you got a longer barrel to burn more of the powder, and so it still has to be fired out of a handgun. It's like a Thompson Contender or something like that. That shoots even though it's a handgun and it's got a 12 to 16-inch barrel depending on which barrel you put on them, but it also shoots all rifle cartridges, and so you can't use that unless you're shooting a 45, a 44, a 38. It has to be a straight-walled cartridge out of a handgun for the short range on that. And other things that work for short-range weapons are your bow and arrow, your crossbows, shotguns, and muzzle loaders. But on your muzzle loaders, unlike on a traditional muzzle loader hunt or a regular muzzle loader hunt where it's muzzle loader only, on the short range weapon muzzle loader, you can shoot a 209 primer, you can shoot the Pyrodex pellets, and you can shoot a saboted bullet. Where on your regular muzzleloader hunt, you have to use loose powder, a full lead projectile, and a percussion cap. So there's a lot of rules. If you have any questions on those, just give us a holler at the office, and we can help straighten it out a little bit more.
Thank you.
You bet.
Want to thank you for chiming in as well. Telephone number 736-0300. We haven't had a chance to mention it today, but there's some discussion at the federal level about removing the grizzly from the endangered species list. And if that happens, there's going to be a lot of interest, I'm sure, among sportsmen in Idaho about that potential because this is, you want to talk about big game, it doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they like chasing you back. And so,
Yes.
no, that's something that's been, it's a hot topic. I really don't know where it's going at this time. Some of the smaller things that I've picked up on that, um, I'm far enough down the hill that I don't talk about those things until they completely come out typically. But we'll most likely end up in the main area where the main resource area for or main habitat area for those bears. We may end up getting one permit, possibly is what we'll probably look at doing. But then any bears that are outside of those areas would not be considered part of that. So we may increase the number of opportunities to harvest bears outside of that area. It's really, really early in the preliminary stages of this, and so I hate to speculate too much, but it's one of those things that needs to happen. We need to move forward. We need to, we've surpassed the minimum animals that they wanted to have in that by a long ways. And so I think it's time to move forward. It's very similar to the wolf issue.
It mainly will impact eastern and northern Idaho. The
It
Magic
will.
Valley won't have much to.
No, the Magic Valley, I mean, it will not, but it will, over there from Soda Springs to Ashton to clear over to what is that? Now the name is over by Mud Lake Territon. There's another Du Bois over in that area, clear over into towards Du Bois and all that IF, uh, Idaho Falls country and Henry and all of that area it'll greatly impact.
There was a fellow I know last summer, and he put the video up on the internet, and they were breaking into his house drinking his Pepsi Cola. So they can be a nuisance.
They can, and and it's like anything. If there's no humans around, animals don't need to be managed. Animals can manage themselves if there's not a human in sight. But once you add humans to the equation, roads, traffic, everything else, that's when management really becomes critical for the survival of these animals and to keep the populations as healthy as possible. We've actually got bears on trail cams and on bait sites clear down as low as high C, which is just outside of Idaho Falls, and you're starting to get into a fairly populated area. And so, it's time to be moving forward.
And we're going to see a lot of that wildlife come this direction because it just simply, as their populations grow, it has to go somewhere.
Well, and they keep moving, to fill up areas that they can make a living, and so we see more and more deer in town all the time. We get moose down in the valley. I mean, it's just we live in wildlife habitat, and we live in a wild area, and so as populations increase, you do see increased numbers of animals in the areas.
And living near the canyon as I do now, I'm told, for instance, I was telling you during one of the breaks, I don't like to let the cats outside. And I was told that I have a number of things to worry about: coyotes, fox, anything traveling through that
Hawks,
range.
owls, anything. Yeah, we lose cats all the time. Lots of coyotes this year. Lots and lots and lots of coyotes. It's amazing to me how, I can't hardly drive even in the middle of the day in populated areas and not see them. And it's just because we got a massive mice and vole population right now and lots of rabbits. And so there's lots of food sources out there. And so the females are lactating more and we're having higher pup survival. So we got a lot of things running around right now. So
We're going to have then a lot more of those confrontations between, especially when you got the building boom going on with people. And, if you go down the highway toward Filer, you start to see that this area has so transformed. You're going to have a lot more of those confrontations.
And we do. We continually have different issues that are popping up between humans and wildlife just because we've grown so tremendously in the last 10 years.
There was a fellow, who was it, in that area up around, it had to be up around Bellevue, but he had the elk in the basement this past winter. And
Uh-huh.
if people encounter something like that, what should they do?
Get a hold of us or get hold of the county sheriff. And if just call, if you call 911 or if you've got, if you got an elk in your basement, that's an issue because it can damage your home. It can injure somebody else. And so try to get a hold of us, try to get a hold of the police department, because they have all our officers' phone numbers in those areas, and we'll be over there as quick as possible to help take care of situations like that. We have major issues. However, if you get a skunk in your backyard, that's kind of your issue. And it sounds mean and harsh, but a lot of times, one thing I really like to tell people this time of year, if you've got a skunk in the backyard, most likely it's your fault right now, because you're feeding your pet outside, leaving your dog food, your cat food on the back porch, leaving your garbage uncovered, not cleaning up a compost pile. You're baiting that animal into free dinner. This is kind of like leaving chocolate chip cookies out on the counter when your friends come over and you wonder why they eat them all. Well, because they're out. And that's the same thing with skunks, or in certain areas, foxes. If you bring that dog food, pet food, any of those attractants into the house at night, then the skunk will only visit during the daylight. No,
Right.
but you will see skunks even hitting people's porches during the day once they get habituated to food. If you get rid of all those food sources, they'll be bugging your neighbor because they'll have their food outside somewhere.
About 3 minutes to go. We have a caller with us. Caller, you're on the air with Kelton Hatch on News Radio 1310 KLIX.
Hey, morning, guys. Real quick, I just wanted to say that when you go out hunting and are out and about, you see a lot of private property signs, even up in the hills. And I know it drives a lot of the outdoorsmen and hunters crazy, but the best way to gain access to those is to ask permission. You'd be surprised at how many farmers and ranchers will actually give you permission. But I know our family's never given anybody permission after we've caught them trespassing. So something to think about.
That's an excellent comment, and I greatly appreciate that. You bet. And I want to add on to what this gentleman has said. Um, the reason a lot of this ground is posted is because, I mean, there's an old joke. I grew up on a ranch. My family still runs a ranch. You wanted to paint cow on the side of your cow, and tractor on the side of your tractor, and stock tank on the side of the stock tank, so it didn't get shot. And because people get bored and stuff like that, just go up and treat this land like it was your own, but make sure you get permission. Yeah, granted, a rancher may have 5 or 10,000 acres, but that 5 or 10,000 acres means just as much to them as your half an acre in your backyard. They don't want people rutting it up. They don't want people throwing garbage out. If you ask permission, a lot of times people will let you in on it, and try to do it, not at 6 a.m. when you're wanting to go hunting. Get a hold of them a month or so before, when you're out scouting, and plan ahead, and I think things will get along a lot better.
We're going to squeeze one last caller in. Caller, you're on the air coming up on 9:56. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Hatch. Hey, I have a question about the refund after I applied for a moose tag and didn't draw. How long does it take to get the refund?
Typically 2 weeks. You'll have that check in your pocket, and the only thing that will be lacking is the amount of the application fee.
Now, another question is after on the second draws, are we allowed to apply for, say, a second? If we didn't draw in the moose, are we allowed to apply for the second draw elk tags or deer tags?
On the second draw, you can. You can't apply for the first draw. If you tried it sounds like you understand that. But if you applied for a trophy species, you cannot apply for the first round of deer, elk, antelope applications. Okay. Anything that's left over, people draw the tag and then they don't pick it up. When we have that second application period, you can apply for anything. And people that drew a bull tag last year or a buck tag last year, they can't apply for a bull or a buck tag this year on the first draw, but they can apply for them on the second chance draw, the bulls or the bucks, even if they drew a bull or a buck tag the year previous.
I want to thank him for the telephone call, and we've only got about 30 seconds left.
Some great questions.
For people, in fact, we mentioned this earlier, if they've got still more questions, the website's still a great place to send them, right?
You bet. And you can send them to our website, or you can call us at the regional office. But, either way, or you can wait until we come back on this show. Maybe what we'll have to do is one of these times. We had a lot of calls that couldn't get through because we had other issues that we was talking about, but maybe we'll have to just have a call-in show one of these times.
Yeah. We could even add that at some point.
There you go. Sounds good.
Since you're our most popular guest.
Hey, what can I say? Hey, it's not me. It's what we're talking about here. The reason you don't move to Idaho to get rich. You live here because you love the outdoors. And you just hope other people don't follow you. I've lived here all my life, but
Frank Vandersloot might disagree with that, but
and I'm trying not to hurt anybody's feelings on that. We just have to joke a little.
All right. I want to thank Kelton Hatch for Idaho Fish and Game. Rush Limbaugh will follow the news at 10 o'clock. And Bill Colley saying, I hope to be back here tomorrow morning, God willing, the creek don't rise between 8 and 10 o'clock. And wishing you all a great day.